Oh, hi. Welcome. Welcome to the experience. Why the Daniel Teaches Experience. Ba-da-bam. And then like the retro, like 80s music will start playing. How's everybody doing, folks? I'm super happy to be back for another episode. Last week there wasn't an episode. My apologies. And it's apologizing to you and to myself because I hate not being disciplined. I hate not following through on something. Last week was the first time an episode didn't come out since February. Besides that, every week, every Monday, episode has come out. Don't worry, folks, we're going to stay on it. But if things do come up, you already know it's school. It's the homework and the term assignments and the midterms and all that good stuff. So without further ado, folks, let's get into what we want to get into for today. Recently, over the last month, I asked on Instagram, I said, hey, folks, when I document stuff, right? When I document, video editing and I document working on homework for psychology, do you want to see the days where things don't go well? Do you want me to put stuff on my stories and share days where I don't get any homework done, where I don't understand a concept, where I fail at midterm? Do you want to see that stuff? And I put it out there to see what people would say. And to my surprise, there was an overwhelming majority of people who said, yeah, Daniel, we want to see it all. We want to see the days where you succeed and things go well, but we also want to see the days that you just absolutely suck. We want to see the days that, in the slang words, that you take an L, right? Things that the days that nothing works well for you. And I thought that was interesting, and I'll tell you why. I'm a big believer in the way that you look at the world, right, shapes your beliefs and your attitudes, and it's vice versa, right? Because then your beliefs and attitudes shape the way you see the world, and that reciprocates back into you, right? So on social media, I always try to follow accounts that inspire me, right? That empower me, that make me feel good, that make me want to push forward. And what ends up happening is, when you see accounts, or sometimes, man, something happens where you see negativity and you're like, you know what? I really don't need this in my life. So you kind of like disconnect yourself, right? You unfollow or you stop being friends with that person. And really the best thing that you can do is, how loud are these birds? Do you hear these birds, or is it just me? Let me do a quick check. All right, there we go. We should be good. Yeah, they like to get excited. I think my birds have their own podcast. So like when I do my podcast, I feel like they want to start their own podcast too. It's just wrong timing, because I've got the studio booked. Anyways, what we were talking about, right, was disconnecting yourself from, things that make you feel negative and bad, and you can always unfollow accounts that you don't like. And my mindset was this, folks. Positivity is my oxygen, right? It fuels me. It's what makes me feel good, right? I love seeing people accomplish their goals. You don't know how happy I get to hear my friends, getting scholarships and following their dream careers and XYZ good things happening to them. It makes me feel really good. And there's nothing like having positive people around you, man. The people who can smile when, even though they've been through some tough times, just because they smile and they're happy all the time doesn't mean they don't have their problems. It doesn't mean they don't have their fair share of obstacles. You don't know that. But the fact that they can, and not a fake smile, mind you, but they can be strong and they can go through it and still look at the beauties in life, right? And it's not delusional, right? You're not pretending the negativities aren't there, but they choose to highlight the positivities instead. And I feel like those can make you feel really good. So what I've done on my social media ever since I started was, I had this mindset of, I want my platform, right, and many other platforms do this as well, to be a source of positivity and to be a source of critical thinking. If you're listening to my videos, listening to the podcast, right, TikTok, anywhere, I always want to, challenge you to think different perspectives. You don't have to agree, but just, I want you to understand. And two, I love, telling you about times when I accomplish my goals. And I love talking about times when I'm disciplined and I follow through, because my hope is that you think, oh, you know what, Daniel being such a useless, stumbling idiot, man, if he can do it, I can do it too. Right? I feel like that's so empowering, because oftentimes you don't really know what's possible until someone else does it. Right? You're like, oh, I got to be an author, when I'm over 35. But then you hear someone at the age of 24 put out a book. It's possible. Or you're like, man, I'd love to like beat the world record for pull-ups, but I don't think that's possible. And then David Goggins goes and does it. YouTube that. It's phenomenal, right? So I feel like when you see positivity, it does something to you. When you listen to a 2-hour podcast of Joe Rogan and Kevin Hart talking about struggles and life and hate, and man, it really rubs off on you in a good way. And that's the hope that I had for this podcast, right? To be good and whatever you're going through, whatever troubles, relationships, school, that you could just take a minute, and whether it's listening to this podcast or these videos or my posts anywhere, and for even a split second, they could take you out of that negative environment and just water a little bit of positivity on you, on if you were a tree or a flower or something, right? That's what I want to do. I want to serve you in that sense. because I know how powerful it is to have that, to have those things impact you, especially in the time of social media, right? We're in a place now where 40 years ago, man, your environment was your environment. You have your immediate family, you got your friends, you have your clubs, you know, but there was no other guy around the world. I had no idea what the hell Kevin Hart would be talking about unless I pay money to go see him at a concert. But this active, following, and I know social media has its pros and cons, I promise you that. But one huge pro is, man, I get to follow Kevin Hart around. I get to watch his stories on Instagram and his posts on Facebook when he talks about some of the challenges he's been through and just the way that he looks at life and how he's overcome this and that and the passing of this. And it's really, really, really inspiring. Now, here's the negative part of social media. Unfortunately, on social media, the majority of people, they don't show their true selves. They show their best selves. So what would happen is, if I have 2 days, one day where I just, man, I don't get anything done. I completely fail. I fail at midterm. I don't get any homework done. I just eat chips and watch TV. And then another day when I wake up early, work out, do homework, shoot a podcast, I'll post about that day on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, right? The problem is, if you always post positive stuff, even though people know, hey man, that's not really you, that's not 100% you. That might be a fraction of you, right? That might be 15% you, but that's not 100% you, right? We don't know how much you really have behind those doors. So when you keep posting positive stuff, and I'm happy, I'm great all the time, an indirect outcome of that has to be some kid watching my videos. I was thinking about this the other day, watching my videos and podcasts, and maybe he's a little down, maybe he's a little in the, just not feeling too energetic. And he goes, how is this son of a blank so happy all the time? But instead of being like, maybe I can do it too, what if he starts thinking, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I not happy all the time? Should I be happy all the time? How come every day Daniel has a perfect day? Every day this man's waking up at 6 in the morning, working out, seeing his friends, seeing his family, doing 3 backflips. Right? Because the problem is, if I only post, the things that are good for me, it's like indirectly, man, as human beings, we compare ourselves to other people. Again, pros and cons to that, right? Because you want to see where you fall in terms of whether it's I was going to use Jordan Peterson's word as the dominance hierarchy, but that's not exactly what I'm going. I'm just going in the sense of like, for the sake of argument, right, there's a project due in like 15 days, and you hit up 1 or 2 classmates to see if they've started, how far they are, and based on where they are, right, you're gonna judge yourself. Right? You go, oh man, Samantha and Josh, they're halfway done, haven't even started. Or, you know what, I've started, Josh and Samantha haven't even looked at it. So you, in a sense, it's good to kind of keep you in line. But again, pros and cons. But yeah, that's one thing I've been thinking about. And I was like, man, maybe always posting positivity, it might be beneficial to let people see, hey guys, I've been doing it a little bit more frequently on Instagram. Hey guys, today didn't get any work done. Guys, today I just took an L. I don't do it enough, but I feel like, see, folks, here's the thing. There's no script, right? So I'm just talking. And as I'm saying this out loud, in one sense, I want to do it more, right? Because I want to show you, the great Daniel teaches, man, has days where I sit down to do work, and after 20 minutes of just forcing myself, I'm like, you know what? I'm just not in the mood. I walk away. Go out for a walk, come back, watch some TV, take a shower. If I feel like it, I'll continue. If not, I won't do any work that day. Or maybe I should post things like that to be like, hey guys, I can't speak for everyone 100%, but I think most people have a day where just things don't work out. It's life. It's what happens, and that's all right. And I feel like, when you can show your imperfections, you are that much more relatable, right? And people are, oh man, he's human after all, right? And I feel like, if you're following a challenge or a diet or whatever, and you realize that person X, didn't fall through, but then bounce back, I feel like it's that much more inspirational. Because if you put someone on a pedestal and they're always disciplined, always doing their thing, sometimes it's hard to relate to them. So when you have a guy like David Goggins have this unbelievably inhumane workout routine, and then he's sitting with Joe Rogan being like, hey man, this one day I stayed in bed for 30 minutes just looking at my shoes and contemplating getting out of bed and how boring it was going to be and going out and all the talks I got to go do. And him just saying that, be like, hey man, even though I'm supposed to be this badass, workaholic enthusiast, I still have those thoughts too. And I think those can be really, really, really beneficial. Now, again, I do lean towards the positive side because, man, I know you have your own problems, right? I know you have your own, not even problems, but just things on your mind, your own obstacles, your own issues, things that are important to you, right? So that's why I would never really burden you with more negativity. You know, oh guys, you know, guess what happened to me today? Like, you know, but I think at that point it just becomes subjective, and at that point it becomes extremely contextual, right? Like, what are we talking about here specifically? So I think that's a very interesting way to look at it in terms of what to post and what to show. And I'll be honest, the last 2-3 days have gone extremely well for me. I've really gotten a lot of work done. One thing I've been learning a lot is time management. Really working with time management, being careful of how much time to put aside, how much time works realistically for goals. I am very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Synonymous? Is that the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I'm going to use that word, and let's see if it's correct or not. I'm synonymous with underestimating the amount of time it will take me to do something. I'll look at a couple of quizzes and a couple of homeworks, and I'll be like, all right, I'm going to finish this, 6 of these today. All of a sudden, time flies by. It's 11:30 p.m. I finished 2.5. So usually those would really end up messing with me. But over the last few days, folks, it's been good. I've been disciplined. I can do the podcast, so I'm extremely happy. I've been eating well, sleeping well. Life's been going well. Now, going back to that showing things, right? This is something I've been thinking about probably for years now. And I can't believe, like, I've never said this on camera before until now. My friends, what do you think about helping people on camera? I know 100% every single person has seen this or heard of this. Check this out. It's a YouTube video. It's a young man, maybe my age, or a young woman, doesn't matter. She walks up to a homeless man in downtown. She gives him some money, buys him some food. She does something kind for him. Right. Now, your immediate takeaway is, that's amazing. Daniel, that's fantastic. Why are you even talking about this? 2 thumbs up. Here's the thing. She's recording it while she's doing it. Now, this gets into a very interesting conversation. On one hand, you have people who go, you know what, man? There are all these challenges out here, right? There's some of the, I'm going to really mind my language, but some of the quote unquote challenges, quote unquote social experiments, quote unquote pranks. Just to give you guys a small example, a couple years ago, there's a prank where you go punch someone in the face, like on the street. I swear to you. Don't YouTube it because it's not good. But there's a prank where it's like, oh, you know, you go punch someone in the face, and then when they look at you, go, it's a prank, bro. Like, that's wait. Anyways, all logic and all rational thought had escaped people, and it was just about making a trend and doing something good, right? And the mindset of some people was, okay, you know what? We're doing all these trends, man, about cinnamon challenges and who can paint my house the biggest and all that ridiculous stuff. What if we did a challenge that involved giving back? What if I did something good on camera? I took a video, I posted it, and I said, hey, look at how easy this is, what I'm doing. Look at how happy it's making this individual, and I challenge you to do the same. So what ends up happening is one person does giving a homeless person $100. You know, taking a homeless person in for dinner, doing, you know, X, whatever, right? They have it on camera, their buddies filming them, they're helping someone out. And one of the huge positives of that is, I believe, when you see something like that, when you see a YouTuber that you follow, man, it first of all, what it does is it plants the idea of, oh, this is an action that I can take. Next time I see a homeless person, whether it might not even be conscious, it might be subconsciously. You might be walking in downtown, you see someone, you go, oh, I remember whatever YouTuber, you gave him some money. And you might think, do I have any money in my wallet? Can I pay, you know, how's he looking? How's the situation looking? Maybe I can give him some money. So in one sense, my friends, helping people on camera is a great way to spread awareness. It's a great way to really implant that idea of, hey man, this is how easy it is to help someone, right? If you've never helped someone, like, watch me help this person, watch the reaction, and you decide if this is something you want to do or not. And I think that is absolutely beautiful, and it's such a good way to spread awareness. Now, on the other side of the conversation, there's the people who would say, man, if I want to help you, if I want to give any sort of an aid to you, be it financially or any other sort of way, that's between me and you and no one else. We don't need a camera. We don't need a recorder. We don't need to walk up and be like, hey, do you want this $100? Here you go. All right, buddy, take the picture. Cheese, right? And then you take a picture with a homeless guy, and then you're like, I'm going to need this back. That was just for the gram. Sucks to suck, you know, like it's unbelievable, right? Because if you think of it from that sense, it's like, Dan, why does the world have to know? right? I'm helping you. And that's between me and you. That's why I'm helping you, because I want to. Not because, oh, so people can see, oh, Daniel teaches, God bless him, he's helping the homeless. You know what I mean? Like, because at that point, my friends, I feel like if you help someone for the sake of the notoriety and getting the picture taken, says, oh, so people can see what a good person you are, I think that's almost worse than not helping someone at all. No, that's definitely worse. I'll tell you why. It is so distasteful, because what you're doing is you're manipulating this person. You're taking advantage of his situation to put yourself up on a pedestal. Again, context is extremely important. Every person differs. The intention differs. We'll never truly know. You'll never find anyone, unless maybe he's telling his close friend, who's like, yeah, man, I only help people out, because it makes me look good for the press. Or, when the picture's being taken. Or when I know my buddy's going to follow me because he, vlogs everything. But when I'm on my own, I don't do any of that stuff. There are people out there, but they're not going to admit that. Who was it, man? Was it Keanu Reeves? There was one celebrity that I heard of who, because when you have a lot of money, people oftentimes say, man, what are you going to do with all that money? You know how many schools you could have bought? You know how many charities you could have blah, blah, blah? You know how many blah, you could have blah, blah, blah? Right? Like they always say. And this was the perfect answer. I don't know if it was Keanu Reeves, but someone, turns out they've been donating either hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars every year to someone. I apologize. This is like right off the top of my head. I don't know if this was like a children's hospital, but it was to a charity of some sorts. And people just went, wow, like we had no idea that he's been doing this over the last couple of years. To which my thought was, dude, we shouldn't know. It's not about us. We can sit here and go, oh man, you're a millionaire. How about you help someone else out? Yeah, how do you know he's not doing that already? Just because he's not going to come out here with a microphone, attention, I just helped this charity out, doesn't mean he's not helping them out. There was a guy, Gary Vee was up. He was speaking somewhere at a conference, Gary Vaynerchuk. Some dude yells out, man, how about you build a school or something? And Gary says back some ridiculous number like, I've built 4. Or I've built, like some wild number, right? To just slap the guy in the face and be like, hey man, do your research first before you're gonna insult me. Because you don't know how much someone's helped. So, I think it gets to a very, very interesting conversation. And I'm curious about, where do you stand on that line? What do you think about helping someone? Right? Because I've also seen the videos where on TikTok it was a little bit of a trend where people showed the point of view and the camera was set up in a way where, almost like this, where you'd see the person and they'd walk over and essentially you're shoving a camera into his face as you give him that soup or money or whatever it may be. And it's just, it doesn't look good, my friends. It doesn't look nice. You're sitting there and you have 2, 3 strangers with these big smiles on their face, shoving a camera in your face. It's tough. It's very tough. But again, I think that's why it's so important to have this discussion, to open up the monologue and just to say, hey man, the monologue, open up dialogue and talk about the different factors. In one sense, yeah, seeing someone help a homeless person, I believe would make me more likely to help a homeless person. On the other side, if I was to ever help anyone in that sense, I don't know if I'd ever record it. I don't think I would. That could change. My mind could change. But as of this moment right now, if I was going to do something next week or tomorrow, I don't think that's just a personal preference. Again, I don't think, oh man, I could be persuaded. But I think, man, as long as your heart's in the right place, doesn't really matter. As long as your heart's in the right place, as long as you're doing it for the right reasons, do whatever you like. At the end of the day, helping for the sake of helping, not for anything else, helping for the sake of helping is still helping. And it's beautiful and it's important. And we should all do it when we can. And we should all do it to our own comfort. Some people can help more than others. That's great. Some people can help very little. That's totally okay. Some people can't help at all at this point in time. And that's totally okay. But I think if everyone did their worth, man, I think things would be really amazing. Things would be, you never truly understand how much helping someone is influential, is impactful, until you're down on your luck one day. Until you're down on your luck, on your knees, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the only way that you can improve your circumstance wherever you are is externally, is someone else does something for you. Again, that could be in a homework situation, that could be in a financial situation, that could be whatever it may be. My friends, the feeling is really quite remarkable. And I understand there's different severities, right? Whether, you're working on homework and you don't know the answer, so you ask a friend, right? That helps you a lot, because if they didn't tell you, you might have not been able to figure it out. You wouldn't have gotten that score. To, getting help with anything, paying rent, buying food, whatever it may be. So I think helping is such a beautiful thing to do. And as long as your heart's in the right place, please, my friends, help as many people as you can. I guarantee you, though, if I'm not mistaken, the people who volunteered most often had a higher quality of life satisfaction than the people who didn't volunteer. On average, right? And mind you, just take that with a grain of salt, because I believe that is one study, and you should never take one study as the word of God, if you will. But there have been studies to show that, if I'm not mistaken, I know there's one for sure, I don't know how many there are, that show that people who volunteer do report a higher quality of life satisfaction. There's something in giving, my friends. It's unbelievable. Like if you whether it's Christmas or someone's birthday, when you go out and you're buying someone that present, it makes you feel good, Like you want to go, you buy the thing and the time, but really makes you feel good when you give just for the sake of giving, not because you want to get something back. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. Helping is amazing, my friends. Helping is amazing. Now, when helping can get a little tricky is when you have an individual who needs help but refuses to accept it. You have a person who's drowning. Me and you see that they're drowning. So one of us reaches out a hand. And this individual does not take that hand. And me and you are looking at each other. We're going, well, does he need help? Yes. Have I tried to help? Yes. Why aren't they accepting it? And you can be put in a really, really uncomfortable position. I think it's really simple to think that, oh, if you need help, that's one thing. Everyone needs help sometimes. And then for someone to extend their hand and want to help you, amazing. But then for you to dismiss, to deny their aid due to pride, due to denial of your current problems, due to any other... Hey Nadia, what's going on? Hey everybody, my sister just entered. Oh, gotcha, okay. Yeah, go for it. If you need anything, let me know. I haven't decided if I'm gonna cut this out or not. Nadia, what was I talking about again? Oh, right, I got it. Right. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we're talking about helping people and someone doesn't want help, there are a few things we can turn to. One of them could be not helping because of pride, right? Someone saying, hey man, I don't need help. You think I need help, man? You need help. What's wrong with you? So that could be a pride thing. Another one could be, and it's similar to pride, but it's just denial. Say, man, there's no problem here. I'm perfectly fine the way I am. I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfect just the way I am. This is a different conversation for a different episode, but one of the negatives of I'm perfect just the way I am, that's very contextual, my friends. Because if you have an alcohol problem, and if you abuse your wife, and if you're getting kicked out of work, I'm perfect the way I am. Like, really? You're perfect the way you are? That's different. Now, if we're talking about a young girl struggling with weight issues because she thinks she's overweight when she's not, and it's just a media and propaganda thing, that's a different story. Then, that's a different answer. So I think when we look at things like you're perfect the way you are, context to context matters. Now, going back to this, sometimes people are in need of help, but they've gotten so used to pain and they've gotten so used to this darkness that they've spiraled in that they don't believe that help is possible. They don't believe that there's a way out. At some point, their brain has made this identification. In psychology, it is called learned helplessness, where you see the mind almost shatter, almost succumb to defeat, where they just drop their weapons and they fall to their knees and they go, this is it. There's nothing I can do. I believe there was an experiment where there was an experiment, if I'm not mistaken, there's a mouse. There's a mouse in a cage, and what would happen is this mouse is just living its own life, and it would hear the sound, beep, 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 and right after it would hear the sound, this mouse would experience a shock. It would get shocked and it would hurt a little bit, right? And this would freak the mouse out. Well, guess what happened 2, 3, 4 times? The first time when it hears the sound, it has no idea, no reaction. Then it gets the shock. Eventually what happens is when you hear that sound, right before that shock, this animal had picked up, shouts out to Pavlov and, what's it called? Conditioning, learned conditioning. But basically this idea where you begin to associate, these different stimuli together, right? Where you begin to stick things together that didn't exist before, where your mind makes this connection of, beep, 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 and then the shark's about to hit you. So literally, if they were to look at the mouse, as soon as it heard the sound, its heart rate would speed up, right? The breathing would be irregular, it's moving around, it's panicking, its anxiety would be through the roof. And this isn't just to talk about animal cruelty, but for the sake of this experiment, it was talking about how after a couple of times, and it wasn't enough like to seriously hurt or anything, it was like a pinch. After a couple of times, this mouse had what psychologists would call learned helplessness. It was in this state where it had almost succumbed to the idea of there's nothing I can do to prevent what's about to happen. The first few shocks, it would run around, pant, try to climb up, nothing would work. After 3, 4, 5 times, it would just take it. It would just sit there and just allow itself to get shocked because there clearly wasn't a solution. And I believe that when you're someone who needs help but turns it down, you're sometimes in a position where you either think there's no solution, you think that it's not possible for there to be a light at the end of the tunnel, even though people might say, hey man, it's all right, bro, you got to go to rehab, you got to go to therapy, anyone could quit the heroin addiction. You don't see it. People will tell you, but you don't see it, but you don't believe it. Why? Because darkness is all you know. Because when you fall so deep down into that hole, it is extremely hard to get back out. Everybody starts to give you advice. God bless, Carl Rogers was saying this on YouTube. He said, man, a lot of people who go to therapy don't want advice. I'm going to say this again. And again, not my words, Carl Rogers' words. A lot of people who go to therapy or counseling do not want advice. They get more advice from the world than they would ever ask for. Everybody and their mama gives them advice. The dad gives them advice, their brother gives them advice, their best friend gives them advice, their cousin gives them advice, the stranger who they meet gives them advice. Everybody gives them advice without them even asking for it. How many times have you told someone, like, yeah, man, I'm going through this thing right now. It is what it is. And before even, asking them, they just say, well, this is what I think you should do. It's not a bad thing, but just to paint you that idea, Carl Rogers, and I'll make some episodes identifying some specific psychologists that I really like, that I really follow, was one of these guys who's going, man, a lot of it with respect to counseling and therapy is just listening. It's just listening to the thoughts and where they go and how they spiral. And I personally am very fascinated with respect to how people end up spiraling so deep down into depression. And really, if you think about being deep down in this hole, it's like, how do you come up? How do you come up out of something if you don't believe there's a way out? Right? If you don't believe there's a way out, you're not even looking for a way out. You have accepted, for lack of a better word, defeat. You've accepted this pain and this suffering. So step one would be, man, you got to realize there's a way out. You got to realize that there's a way that you can escape the pain. That's step one. Step two is figuring out, okay, now that we know, and this is in no way meant to be like, Daniel teaches cures depression in 6 minutes. This is just some rambling I have off the top of my head with the respect to some of the psychology that I've read and some of the books that I've read. But so if an individual in a dark place realizes, okay, it can get better. Life can be better. I'm not perfect the way I am. I could be so much better. Life could be like unbelievably better. Life could be night and day between the way I'm living my life right now and the way I could be living my life. I am not all that I can be. And I know it. I believe that was a Dr. Peterson quote. But it's true. So you start thinking, okay, well, now that I know that there might be a different life than the life I only know to live, how can I change? How can I start to maneuver and shift my life so I can get that instead of what I have right now, right? And that's when you get to things like talking to counselors, to therapists. A lot of times, one of the best things that a person can do is talking to someone else who was depressed, talking to someone else who was in that deep hole. In my opinion, the closer the better, right? If you're a hardcore drug addict, talking to a recovered drug addict, I think would be amazing for someone who can really, not just sympathy, oh man, that sucks, but really with empathy, be empathic and go, brother, I know what you're talking about. No, listen to me. I know what you're talking about. I've literally been there. And I think those things can be extremely powerful. Right, and then from there on, you move on to sessions and mindset and this and that, and again, folks, one of the, not the worst thing, but the most controversial thing I've ever said was I said, folks, I'll say something like happiness is a choice or getting better is a choice and whatnot, and it's been taken out of context in the sense of, oh, so Daniel, you think depression is a choice? You think people just want to be depressed for fun? Of course not. But seeking help is a choice. Saying, hey, I want to get better, that's a choice. Saying, I'm going to attend therapy, that's a choice. Now, I completely agree with you. Sometimes you're in a position where you got so many problems and you've got so many severe symptoms, and your disorder is so tough that you don't see anything. You're blinded. And you made to feel like you don't have a choice and you feel like this is it. And I completely get that. It differs by case to case, right? The regular Joe Blow who's just having a sad day, right? Of course, I can tell him, hey man, like, dude, this is a choice, right? I know it's raining, but let's focus on the good stuff. We can have hot chocolate, right? That's different. I'm talking about that guy. But if we're talking about the person who's, severely depressed, social anxiety disorder, that stuff, that's tougher. That you got to go more in depth. And I'm going to be totally honest. I would never want to BS you folks. I can only tell you what I know, and I can tell you what I don't know. I can tell you that I'm a life coach with a couple years of psychology experience, but I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a clinical psychologist. Not yet. Who knows what the future holds? When I do learn more knowledge, I can become more valuable because I can share more knowledge with you. So right now, all the examples that I'm giving to you is a regular Joe Blow who's having a bad day. In a few years' time, maybe I get more credentialed, maybe I learn some more. I'm like, all right, guys, remember that I said about regular Joe Blow a few years back? Now, if we're talking about someone who has social anxiety disorder, we're going to modify that concept and apply it to you like this. If we're talking to someone who has agoraphobia, we're going to modify this concept and apply it to you like that, right? So you begin to tweak things around, and I think it can be really, really beneficial. So what I just said was in a positive world, right? In a world where, in a perfect world, a person realizes that things do get better and they look for people to help them to get better. But sometimes, folks, you're going to meet people who don't want to get better. Or I should rephrase that. They're not ready to get better. They're not ready to get helped. Their current state of being, they are so comfortable in their current state with whatever it may be, the drugs, the alcohol, the relationships, that it's so hard for them to change that they'd rather just stay. And I want to tell you right now, in my opinion, unless you're a mental health professional, because I don't want to speak on that. I don't have the knowledge like that. But if you're just a regular guy, like myself, you like reading about mental health and whatever, if there's someone who does not want help, if there's someone who's not ready to change, if there's someone who doesn't want to give up drinking, if there's someone who doesn't want to start losing weight, nothing on this earth that you will say will change their opinion on that. I'm a firm believer in that. If you think I'm wrong, please DM me, reach out to me. I'm very happy to have a discussion about this fact. I'm of the fact, man, if I want you to stop drinking, but you don't want to stop drinking, it doesn't matter at all what I say. I could say 50 million things, give you 20 beautiful metaphors about life. Man, if you don't want to stop, you're not going to stop. If you don't want it bad enough, you're not going to get it. So I feel like a lot of this, when you hear from the self-help world of, oh, it's about your mindset, man. If you want it, you can make it happen. Yeah, you can make a straw man argument. And in philosophy, straw man argument is you paint someone's argument as something that it's not. So you're saying I could be a 6'7" NBA player? Like, no, Daniel, Mr. 5'7", I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is when you put these boundaries for yourself and you say, I can do this, I can't do that, you will start to follow those boundaries religiously, whether consciously or subconsciously. So what we can do is we can make you aware and go, hey, at some point in life, you've made these boundaries for yourself. You have these beliefs. And this gets into like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, cognitive restructuring and whatnot. And maybe that'll be that's actually something I've talked about before in one of my videos. You can find it somewhere on YouTube about, you have a belief and you have several little beliefs which hold it up. So you got to deconstruct each one. I actually read it in Tony Robbins' book, Awaken the Giant Within, and also one of my psychology classes. But, really just comes down to, man, if you're not ready for change, if you don't want to lose weight, if you don't want to stop drinking, if you don't want to change your life, there's not a damn thing I can do about it. It's how it is. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I've been on the bad end of that, where I like you so much and I want to do anything I can to help you. And I keep reaching my hand out to grab you, but you don't take it. You don't take my hand. And I'm pleading, like, please, please take my hand. I hate seeing you like this. right? And I'm losing my mind. I'm like, why aren't you taking my hand? I'm this close to jumping in the water and dragging you out myself, but I know I can't do that. Because if I do, there's a chance you might drag me down with you. And no matter what happens, you have to, you call it selfish, call it arrogant, whatever you want to. Take care of yourself first. Take care of your mental health first. If you're in a good place, if you're stable, you want to reach out and help someone, great. If they do not take your hand, use your own judgment. How far are you going to lean off that boat? If you see someone drowning, how far, if you're going to even reach at all? If you're in a bad mental state, the last thing I want you to do is to reach over, fall off, and then, oh, it turns out so-and-so can't swim. But if you have good judgment, and if you're in a good mental state where you want to reach out, man, and this isn't some provide therapy for someone. No, this could be your friend. Your friend just wants someone to talk to. And if you're in a good state where you feel like you can be a good, active listener and just be there for that person, reach out. But please, my friends, use your own judgment. How much is too much? How long do you hold that hand out there before you go, this person has chosen their fate? I do not agree with it. I don't like it. But there's nothing I can do about it. My hand is here. If you want to take it, great. If not, I did what I could. And that's hard. That's really hard, especially when you care for the person. If you don't care for the person, it's like, all right, come on, all right, buddy, whatever. But if it's someone really close to you, I mean, like dear in your life, it's extremely hard to do. I cannot emphasize enough the emotional toll that it takes when you want to help someone out, but and as long as, my parting note will be this, as long as you're okay with this mindset of, you know what, let me focus on the things that I can control and not the things that I can't control. Because if I focus on the things that I can control, I can edit them, modify them, change them. But no matter how much I focus on things that I can't control, man, there's nothing I can do about it. As long as when you put your head down on your pillow at night and you say, you know what, I did everything I could do to the most, appropriate of my abilities, right? I didn't throw my whole life to the side to go jump in the water for this person, but no, reasonably, I did all that I could do. I stretched all that I could stretch. Unfortunately, it wasn't the outcome that I was hoping for, but I did my part. And you have no right to beat yourself up over giving too little. Again, you know yourself, you judge yourself how much you want to give. But really, my friends, be cautious and please remember to prioritize your own mental health before anybody else's. But Daniel is selfish. I don't care. You first. Make sure you're okay. If you're not okay, you're not going to be able to help anybody. That's just how it is. Make sure you're okay. And then when you're okay, now you're in a good state, now you can start to help other people around you. My friends, this was another episode of the Danial Experience. I'm so excited to be back. I love to talk. This was fun. This was good. I got a lot off my chest. I hope you enjoyed. I sincerely appreciate you for listening. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. I don't know if I could ever fully tell you how much I appreciate you listening, whether it's on the YouTube videos or the Instagram posts, TikTok, podcast. I sincerely appreciate it. I wish you so much love and so much happiness you wouldn't even be able to imagine. Take care of yourself. Spend time with your loved ones and stay safe out there. Goodbye, my friends. Take care.